stay with us. The program is still Issues in Perspective, and as you are aware, the program is open to sponsors and is a production of History Desk TV Limited. So we're here to always remind ourselves of the past. Please stay with us, don't go nowhere.
Politics, power, discover what it all means. It's a class on history, a guide to today. From national debates to global diplomacy. This is ISSIUES in Perspective with MBUM Ferdinand. On Rhythm 93.7 Jaws.
Oh, the global.
Morning clarity, Monday through Wednesday, 9 a.m.
Okay.
Putting the news in context.
Hey, two heads are better than one. Not be when you follow Chris person.
Osama, it depends on who they Chris.
Will you shut up there? I don't want to take this rubbish from you this time. Akunolu Entertainment presents Rhythm of Laughter 15 years anniversary. The prize is given.
Yes, sir. 15 years, not be big, sir. You are too faithful to fail me. You are too faithful to disappoint me.
Oh my God, now which kind of picking be this? Now so the singer 90 song get anointing. Take all of fame inside the studio. I don't want to hear anything from you again. Featuring Senator, Funny Bone, MC Shakara, Nedu Alaji Musa. I said, I don't want you to talk inside the studio again. Oswald, are you a fool?
I'm not a fool, sir.
You are a fool.
I'm not a fool, sir.
Shut up.
I will not shut up, sir. I'm terrible. I have integrity, sir.
Oh, so you have integrity. You hear from your mother. Marcia and I'll tell that show. Cook. So which kind of picking with this? People they bought picking. All come know what my sister bought. You stop that. Danny Humorous, Mercy Prosper, Omadan, MC Mitty, MC Freshball, Prayer Point, Chapilons, Elijah Cambezino, MC Apero, Yaski, MC Askilo, Omoji, MC Lacasera, Ogiwebo, and Two Days. Press session led by Femi Jeremiah Coca. DJ on the Mix of Jamie, DJ Kibra. Date Sunday 11th January 2026. Venue, Miss Palace Refuge. Time 2 p.m. sharp. Get entrance regular 5,000. Online at seller.com. At the venue 7,000. For VIP and double bookings, call 070-544-36626.
Hey!
Who asked you? Aproko, you talk too much.
This show is powered by J101.9 FM, sponsored by Nasco Conflict, Maxi Taste Shawarma, Law Orders Limited, Ellips International Limited, supported by Dr. Fish, Gagalicious Food and Events, DG Expression, Janice Kitchen, Valada Hotel, DGC Transport Services, Magdi Beaches, Miss Palace, Jos Metropolitan Development Board, JMDB, Wavelength Graphic Solutions Limited, Josh's Creation, Pepsa, Plateau Express, Plateau State International Service,
I'm downloading it. I want to download it.
Tonak TV, Dreams Nightclub, Amechi EA Prime Events, Mr.
Can you copy with Flash?
Beautiful Bride, The Point Hotel,
Can you copy with Flash?
Mackenzie Trees,
Are you back? Okay, you guys are downloading it.
Wait, 15 years. How many years you did, sir?
Which can still finish with this? What's it cost? How you cost my age? If I get out of the studio, get out! Show what senior you. Nonsense.
70 years old man.
Okay, now just on the system we're going to go. I'm out with Flash type of computer. No, very low. Okay. No internet again.
Yeah, welcome back. If you're just joining us, the program is Issues in Perspective. And today, actually, we're going to be talking about the 31st of December coup of 1983 extensively. But meanwhile, on this very date, yes, 23rd of December, it was a bad day for us here on the plateau in 2023. as a series of massacres targeting Birom civilians unfold in Plateau State, killing over 200 people and further injuring over 500 others. No group to date has claimed responsibility for those attacks. And internationally, on the 23rd of December 2008, a coup d'etat in Guinea, hours after the death of President Alassane Conte, brought in a new regime. That's it. But meanwhile, now let's look at our own military intervention in politics. The 31st of December 1983, the democratically elected national government in Nigeria, Alhaji Shehu Usman Shagari, was overthrown by a clique of the country's senior military officers. The 41-year-old general officer commanding on the 3rd Armored Division of the Nigerian Army based in Jos, Plateau State, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, emerged the head of state and new commander-in-chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces. During the early hours of the morning, the commander of the 9th Mechanized Brigade, Brigadier General Sani Abacha, had woken Nigerians with the early morning announcement, ushering in the new regime. Prior to December 31st, 1983, the Director General of the National Security Organization, Umaru Shinkafi, had intelligence reports associated with up to 10 coup plots, but the NSO was unable to act because of the tenuous and vague nature of the intelligence gathered. It would have been an entirely bloodless operation but for the killing of one of the original ringleaders of the coup, Brigadier General Ibrahim Bako, by President Shagari's guards in Abuja. After the success of the coup, Major General Muhammadu Buhari went on to compose the Supreme Military Council, which was saddled with the responsibility of running the nation, with himself as chairman and Brigadier General Babatunde Ejabon as Chief of Staff Supreme Headquarters, which eventually made him, which automatically made him the de facto vice president. Now let's look at the members of the Supreme Military Council as constituted in January of 1984. Muhammadu Buhari, rank Major General, Chairman, Head of Government. Babatunde Ejabon, rank Brigadier General. Position, Chief of Staff, Supreme Headquarters. Then Duncan Bali, Minister of Defense, rank Major General. Ibrahim Babangida, rank Major General, position Chief of Army Staff. Augustus Akomu, rank Commodore, position Chief of Naval Staff. Ibrahim Alpha, Chief of Air Staff, rank Air Vice Marshal. Maman Gia Vatsa, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, rank Major General. Muhammad Meguru, Minister of Internal Affairs, rank Major General. Sani Abacha, General Officer commanding 2nd Division, rank Brigadier General. Joseph Olayeni Oni, General Officer commanding 1st Mechanized Division, rank Major General. Muhammad Gadonasko, Commander Nigeria Army Corps of Artillery, rank Brigadier General. Yohana Yerima Kure, General Officer commanding 82 Division, rank Brigadier General. Saliu Ibrahim, General Officer commanding 3rd Armored Div, rank Brigadier General. Oko Ebute Okwiwe, Flag Officer commanding Western Naval Command, rank Commodore. Larry Konyan, Representative Nigerian Air Force, rank Captain. Gray Eromose, Secretary of the Federal Military Government and Head of Civil Service, rank Air Commodore. Chike Ofodile, Attorney General and Minister of Justice. Mohamed Rawal Rafindadi, Director General of the National Security Organization. James Etimokoniyan, Inspector General of Police. This is the composition of the Supreme Military Council as constituted on the 1st of January 1984 after Major General Muhammadu Buhari took over government as head of state. He was a 41-year-old military officer who prior to that period, prior to December 31st, was the General Officer commanding the 3rd Armored Division in Jos. Prior to the coup, when you speak to any Nigerian at that period, you'll hear the familiar complaints about Nigeria's sorry plight, about the waste, mismanagement, corruption, and lack of environmental sanitation. Nigerians yearn for a government that will tackle these problems head on. Nigerians, although supporting democracy, believed that the institutional checks and balances it imposes will inhibit even a well-intentioned government and will prevent it from pushing through the punishing reforms and hardline policies that are necessary to change. There were those who believed that Nigeria needed a tough authoritarian regime to tackle its problems and implement the unpopular but corrective policies that a democratic government couldn't afford to take for fear of being voted out of office. Yet while Nigerians complain about the problems all around them, they seem to have collective amnesia and never referred to the fact that almost 2 generations ago, they had a regime with a program to tackle all of these problems that they always complained about. The stage was set for another military rescue operation, and on the last day of 1983, the army abandoned the barracks in order to save this nation from imminent collapse yet again. President Usman Shehu Shagari was overthrown only 3 months after being re-elected for his second and final term of office in an election that was marred by accusations of electoral malpractice. Scared by the memory of bloodshed that followed the bloody military coups of 1966, the coup plotters wisely did not harm any senior government figures. The only casualty of the coup was Brigadier General Ibrahim Bako, who was killed while trying to arrest President Shagari in Abuja. Some have speculated that Bako was the leader of the coup. If President Shagari had taken a look at Nigeria's history books, he would have noticed that the country's military coups have almost always been carried out by the same group of soldiers. The young NCOs and lieutenants that removed Major General Johnson Agoyin Ronsi from office in July of 1966 became colonels that overthrew his successor, General Yakubu Gowon, in 1975, and they became the brigadier generals and major generals that overthrew President Shagari in 1983. Had Shagari acted decisively early enough during his term and retired these men, his government may have survived. The only notable senior officer retired by Shagari was Major General Joseph Namven Garba, who had double-crossed his own brother-in-law during a military coup in 1975. Oversight of history and military postings played a part in Shagari's downfall. He had, in his position as the Nigerian Armed Forces Commander-in-Chief, paid more attention to sensitive military postings. He would have noticed that many of the officers who took part in the coup were stationed in or in close proximity to the country's commercial nerve center in Lagos. Among the plotters stationed in Lagos were the Army's Director of Staff Duties and Planning, Major General Ibrahim Babangida, the Military Secretary, Brigadier General Tunde Jagon, and a hitherto unknown brigade commander called Brigadier Sani Abacha. As usual, the Nigerian public welcomed news of a military coup d'etat and the overthrow of a government they elected with characteristic jubilation. The officers who led the coup installed Major General Muhammadu Buhari as head of state and as the chairman of a new Supreme Military Council. Up till the time of the coup, Buhari had been the general officer of the 3rd Armored Division in Jos, as we earlier told you. The disciplined, tough and stoic brigadier, later Major General Tunde Jagbon, was appointed as the Chief of Staff, Supreme Headquarters. having neutralized the incumbent Chief of Army Staff, Major General Muhammadu Bushishi. Major General Ibrahim Babangida became the new Chief of Army Staff and de facto number 3 man in the new regime. Bushishi was the symbol of the remarkable reconciliation that had occurred in Nigeria after the Nigeria Civil War, which took shape between 1967 and 1970. At the end of the war in early 1970, Bushishi had entertained Colonel Conrad Nwanwo, a leading officer of the opposing side, as his guest of honor at Onitsha Barracks. The new military regime suspended several parts of the constitution, primarily those relating to freedom of assembly, association, and political activity, banned party politics, declared all borders closed, and began to arrest and detain ministers and officials from Shagari's government on charges of corruption and embezzlement. Buhari and Idiagbon correctly identified corruption and indiscipline as the main constraints on Nigeria's development. These twin evils have, in the view of many, become a way of life for many Nigerians. For this reason, they launched a nationwide campaign called the War Against Indiscipline. Why? The Why campaign was aimed at tackling the most anti-social Nigerian characteristics, such as indiscipline, corruption, and lack of environmental sanitation. Nigerians learned and grudgingly accepted social behavior that was the norm in other countries around the world. Queuing suddenly became all the rage in Nigeria. Buhari and Idiagbon understood that the indisciplined Nigerian psyche was not going to change by persuasion, and that their Why campaign had to be backed by the threat of force. Although they had always cried out for a government that would root out the rampant indiscipline in Nigeria, white-collar workers were hurt when they learned that the Why campaign would lead to them being punished, and that it will apply to them as well as the rest of Nigeria. There have been widespread allegations of corruption against many members of Shagari's government. For this reason, military tribunals were set up to try ministers in Shagari's administration that had been accused of embezzling public funds. These tribunals were chaired by military officers and had the power to impose massive prison sentences. The only right of appeal from the tribunals was to the Supreme Military Council, which was also exclusively comprised of military officers and the Inspector General of Police. The military were effectively acting as prosecutor, judge, and jury. Unsurprisingly, the Nigeria Bar Association barred its member lawyers from participating in the tribunals. Undeterred, Buhari and Idiagbon pressed on with the tribunals, and several prominent politicians were convicted of various corruption charges and given massive prison sentences ranging from 20 to over 200 years. Given that most of the convicted were already over 50 years old, it was obvious that those politicians would die in prison if they served the rest of their sentences. Among those convicted were prominent politicians such as Chief Anthony Enahoro and Jim Obodo. The tribunals effectively put Nigeria's political elite in jail. Although the harsh sentences and nature of the tribunals were criticized, it is arguable that Nigeria needed these Nuremberg-style trials in order to free itself from its corrupt past. The era of Buhari and Idiagbon was the first and only time in Nigeria that public officials were tried and held accountable for their actions in office. The trials would have had more legitimacy if they had been held in civilian courts, presided over by civilian legal officers and open to the public. This way, Nigerians would have seen justice in action and had a chance to scrutinize the actions of their leaders who had so badly let them down and misused their resources. By virtue of their centrally regimented military training and doctrines, Ijagbon and Buhari were fundamentally unable to grasp the niceties of and political legitimacy that they could have derived from holding a fair and open trial. The public fully backed their assault on the corrupt elite, if not their methods. The trials and wide campaign also had psychological impact on others. Don't know how it got to reach individuals in Nigeria. For the first time in Nigeria's history, it became unwise for those with ill-gotten wealth to flaunt their flamboyance for fear of attracting the attention of Buhari's anti-corruption drive. Now, looking at the press at that period, the press had a field day under the civilian government of Shagari, freed by the absence of criticism, sensitive soldiers in government. The press launched constant vitriolic attacks against public officials and often published articles that will not be tolerated in even the most liberal Western democracy. The press quite literally abused the freedom given to it, and the stinging criticism directed by the press actually resulted in a couple of journalists being charged with sedition. For growing up kids, when we say sedition, we mean inciting rebellion against the state. That is the meaning of sedition. As a reaction to this, on the 1st of January 1984, day one of Buhari's regime, the Supreme Military Council promulgated Decree Number 4 of 1984, the Public Officers Protection Against False Accusation Decree. Decree Number 4 made it criminal offense to publish any article that brought the government or any public official into disrepute. Tunde Thompson and Nduka Irabo of the Guardian newspapers were unfortunate enough to fall foul of Decree Number 4 and were imprisoned. Decree Number 4 was no doubt an overreaction by Buhari's regime and strained relations between the federal military government and the press. While Buhari's austerity policies could be justified on the basis that he was battling against corruption and economic waste, his public relations machinery was poor. He made a number of strategic errors and failed to ingratiate himself with the mainly southern-based print media. His regime was savaged by the press. As a result, many of Nigeria's print houses were then owned by the multi-billionaire business politician, the late Moshood Kashimawo Abiola. There are several reasons for the Buhari's loss of support in the South. Firstly, the governing National Party of Nigeria, which Buhari replaced, had a zoning system for key government posts, which provided that certain government positions would be zoned or reserved to persons from certain geographic parts of the country. Since the presidency had been zoned to Nigeria, will zone the presidency to the south, and he will be allowed. Nigeria will zone the presidency to the south, and he will be allowed to run for president. How wrong he was. When Abiola articulated his presidential ambition, he was rebuffed by the then powerful Transport Minister Umaru Diko, who told him that the presidency is not for sale to the highest bidder. Abiola retired from politics soon after, totally exasperated with the NPN. Abiola was, however, to re-emerge from the shadows to play a key role in Nigeria's political history. The makeup of Buhari's SMC also troubled Southerners. Virtually all the senior positions in the SMC, that's talking about the Supreme Military Council, were occupied by northern Muslims. Only 5 of the Supreme Military Council's 14 members were from the South. Additionally, there has always been an unwritten rule that the Nigerian head of state and his deputy cannot be from the same religion or part of the country. Buhari broke this unwritten rule when he appointed Tunde Ijagbon, who, although a Yoruba, was from the north and was also a Muslim. The other influential pro-Buhari figure in the regime was the Minister for Internal Affairs, Major General Muhammad Megoro, who was a Muslim from Buhari's home state of Katsina. The lopsided ethno-religious composition of the Supreme Military Council, coupled with the fact that Buhari's ascension to power preempted the zoning of the presidency to the south, prompted some mischievous Southerners to claim that the New Year's Eve coup was a deliberate plan to prevent the South from gaining political control of the country, and was nothing more than an orchestrated preservation of the North's political control of Nigeria by transferring power from northern civilians to northern soldiers. But definitely that was not true. Now, looking at the Babangida factor, with the civilian population powerless to terminate military rule, it was clear that only the military could do away with Buhari. And from this perspective, the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Ibrahim Babangida, was his greatest threat. Babangida was a contrast to Buhari. While Buhari was a stern, serious-minded and resolute officer, Babangida was deft, tactical, and extremely devious. He had systematically cultivated a loyal following of sycophantic mid-ranking officers over the years by making grandiose gestures and buying lavish presents for officers junior to him. These officers now owed him allegiance. Rather than the nation, institution, or to the head of state, Major General Buhari. Babangida had managed to create a mini personality cult within the military. He was highly respected. It is that Nigerians never did get to find out the extent or nature of the allegations, as a coup led by Babangida himself swept Buhari away before matters could proceed further. Not long after Buhari was replaced by Babangida, a senior and well-respected journalist, Delegiwa, was killed by a parcel bomb while he was working on a story that accused senior army officers of involvement in drug dealing. I think we told about the Delegiwa story here some weeks ago. And now he was murdered on the 15th of October, 1987. 1986. Giwa's murderers have never been found, although attempts have been made to prosecute Babangida and two military intelligence officers, Colonel Tunde Togun and Brigadier General Alidu Akilu, for his murder. Buhari and Ijagbon did not realize that Babangida's loyalists had been pre-positioned in key areas, ready for when Babangida needed them. Buhari later spoke of certain elements within his regime who deliberately sanctioned unpopular moves which were disliked by the public so that they could create an atmosphere of political dissatisfaction great enough to justify another coup. In early 1985, a military intelligence officer, Colonel Chris Ali, entered the office of Major General Tunde Ijagbon and voiced his concerns about rumors of a pending coup. In characteristically taciturn manner, Ijagbon simply replied, "Let them try," a thinly veiled invitation for any coup plotter to do his worst. Erroneously believing that Ijagbon had the security situation under control, Ali said no more about the coup rumors. And on the early hours of 27th August 1985, while Ijagbon was out of the country on a religious visit to Saudi Arabia, Buhari was overthrown in a military coup led by the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Ibrahim Babangida. On the evening of 26 August 1985, the way Buhari was overthrown was very funny. Junior army officers came into his residence. Majors Dangiwa Umar, Harvard University educated officer born into an aristocratic northern family, Lawan Gwadabi, Abdulmuminu Aminu, and Sambo Dazuki, visited Buhari in his apartment, and Buhari knew why they came to visit him. Buhari offered them meals, which they took, and they told Buhari why they were there. Buhari said he knew why they were there, and there was no need for any struggles. That is, he was going to give himself up. That was how easy it was. After the 5 majors, watched the evening news with President Buhari, or should I say head of state Buhari. They told him why they were there, and they all left peacefully. They took him under arrest, and nobody suspected anything. Proving the old adage that what goes around comes around, a decade later, Gwadabi and Dasuki were caught up in an alleged coup plot against General Sani Abacha, for which Gwadabi was tortured and imprisoned, and Dasuki driven into exile. If Buhari had taken a look at the past, he would have realized that in Nigerian politics and in the Nigerian military, it is those to whom one entrusts his safety that need to be feared most. In January of 1966, Prime Minister Abubakar Tafawa Balewa was abducted and murdered by soldiers from the Federal Guards Company under the command of Major Donatus Okafor, a man Balewa trusted with all his life, and a man Balewa trusted with the safety of his entire family. The Federal Guards Company's primary responsibility was to protect and guarantee the safety of the Prime Minister. Balewa's successor as head of state, Major General Johnson Agoye Ironsi, was abducted, tortured, and shot dead by soldiers in his own entourage, only 7 months after the death of Balewa. Agoye Ironsi's successor, General Yakubu Gowon, was overthrown in July of 1975 again with the connivance of officers from the Federal Guards Company. In a stunning act of betrayal, the commanding officer of the Federal Guards Company, Colonel Joseph Garba, who was also Gowon's, seen the circumstances that led to their downfall. Journalists who thought that better times lay ahead post-Buhari need only recall the murder of without charge or trial. Civil liberties organizations fumed and breathed a sigh of relief when Babangida took over, expecting Babangida to repeal Decree No. 2. Babangida not only retained it, but extended the detention period under Decree No. 2 to 6 months, and used it to detain those civil liberties and pro-democracy movements that had welcomed his ascent to power. Those that felt that Buhari and Idiabon were too harsh for imprisoning corrupt public officials, executing convicted drug dealers and armed robbers, should ask themselves whether they are proud of the fact that the average European cannot point out Nigeria's location on a map, or does not know its capital city, but knows that Nigeria is a country where corrupt people, drug dealers, and other criminals come from. These are questions that we all must ask ourselves. Those that criticize the war against indiscipline for attempting to militarize a civilian society need to ask themselves whether they prefer the undisciplined, corruption-infested society that is Nigeria today. Nigeria missed a golden opportunity to change for the better. Most of these extracts were coined from soldiers of fortune.
Ferdinand, without fear of any contradiction. You see, what governance not do less to military intervention politics, most especially within the African continent. We've seen where those takeovers have made the citizens to come out and then be expected. Look at what happened in India, where they took over. The one place Lawrence. Jerry Lawrence is another person that staged a revolution in Ghana. He sent all the rotten eggs there. And that's when Ghana became a state on its own where people now see the benefit of democracy. Because I must say that this program is very informative and then insightful. Thanks for the student analysis.
Thank you very much, Ali Garba, for your contribution. The number to call 080-6464-1536. And call to make your contributions as regard these issues. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Yeah, my name is Emmanuel Paul, behind St. Morumba College.
Emmanuel Paul, you're welcome to the show. Your contribution quickly.
Thank you very much. This program is really, honestly, is enlightening us. I have so much love this program. It's bringing back the nostalgia of when some of these things we were around during the era of these things that have been happening. Honestly, but I just want to ask a question from you, please. Is Joe Garba or Joseph Garba and Suka, Buka, Inka, are they in-law to General Gawan?
I know that Joe Garba is in-law to General Gawan, but I don't know of Buka, Suka, Dimka, unless I have to find that out.
Okay. Honestly, I so much love this program.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Most kudos to you. This program is bringing back the nostalgia. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Emmanuel Paul, for your contribution. So the number to call is 080-6464-1536. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Hello, good morning, madam.
Okay, welcome. Your contribution, quick.
Thank you. This your program is very educational and enlightening. But there's one thing I go about them. They come from the history of military era. They are running the peace of affairs. But if you look at the situation in the north, they are so backward in all aspects of ramification. I want to say that Northern they need to see that and take a critical look at themselves, both in the military era and the democratic era. So that is my view on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Okay, the number to call is 080-6464-1536. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Good morning, President.
Yeah, good morning. Okay, please, can you speak up a little?
I'm not sure. I think it's one of the best laptops in Nigeria. I think it's hard to call the name.
I'm not even getting you clearly. Please, can you cut and call back? Just cut and call back, please. You're not very audible. The number to call is 080-6464-1536. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
This is Bob.
Oh, Bob, you're welcome once again.
Thank you. All you have said is nothing but the truth. The only fortunate man I've ever seen that is either that served as a military head of state, that has served as a civilian president, is one. Why do I say that is so lucky and to have all the second lieutenant, or let me say his vice president as a president, his deputy as a military head of state? He has very intelligent men. That's Sidiako and Oshibanjo. See the caliber of this set of people that stands to be his deputy. Had he allowed them to work. In fact, that overthrow at the military head of state wouldn't have happened. Because during the time of when he was the military head of state, what happened was that Sidiako was to retire what we call it, Babangida and Abacha. But he asked the guy that you step up messing with us and he started talking with Messi. He allowed them to stay. You understand me? Because nobody would have toppled Buhari's government when the guy was in the country. They persuaded him that he should go and start at what we call it, think that you should just go and watch it there. That's why they have that opportunity to support him. Nobody, no soldier would have even support him when they were military head of state. He said, no fact. That's the time we say soldier is their soldier. And that's the time they introduce once a good soldier laugh. They don't laugh. You understand me? Anybody that witnessed that government will know that it's the best government so far as the military head of state.
You just said something that interests me now. You say a good soldier should not laugh.
Yes. That's what he introduced. That's a good soldier was done. I can't even see them laughing sometimes. This time around, you see in every environment, they keep about 20 soldiers or 30 soldiers. This time, it's about 3 soldiers. And you don't look soldiers twice. You don't look soldiers twice. Why did you look soldiers twice? That's 2 times of the year, no? So fortunate that you have just Google.
So you must not look at a soldier. They're not born well. Don't look soldier twice.
Who are you to look soldier twice?
Okay, thank you very much.
So lucky. Very, very lucky man that God gave him his deputy and very intelligent people. Is it to take Osibajo of the government? Who can you match with Osibajo? It's unfortunate.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for your contribution. On the 23rd of December 2003, here on the plateau, it was a very bad day for us. Yes, as a series of armed attacks occurred between 23rd and 25th December. They affected at least 17 rural communities in the local government areas of Bokos and Barkin-Ladi, resulting at least in 200 deaths and injuries to more than 500 people, as well as significant property and infrastructural damage. Although no group claimed responsibility for the attacks, but they are believed to have been committed by Fulani militias. The bandit conflict began in 2011 as a result of disagreement over land ownership and grazing rights between the herders and farmers. Banditry and insecurity are exacerbated by Nigeria's high fertile rates, with a large youth population suffering from unemployment and underemployment that makes them susceptible to radicalism and banditry. Climate change and the expansion of agriculture also led to increased conflict. Previous attacks occurred in the region in April of 2022 and May of 2023. Well, let's take that. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from? Yeah. Okay. Your name again? Okay. Muhammad, you're welcome to the show. Please, your contribution quickly.
Yes, just want to appreciate the report you are making. The program is quite relaxing and quite educative. And I also want to appreciate the contribution of the I think the government has been making a lot of contribution on daily basis regarding this program. Thank you so much for that.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, the aftermath of the attacks. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Ferdinand.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Good morning.
Okay, you're welcome to the show. You say Oga Monday?
The country and all the things I didn't know. Because what I want to know is when you were a gentleman, understand? You know that the bodyguards were going around during that time. You understand?
Yes.
So I don't understand what happened that time very well because I read the thing. I'm so confused about the thing.
It was the chief secretary. T.Y. Danjuma was a major.
Seconds. And tell me what I want. And I will give it. That's my own mistake.
Yeah, I think T.Y. Danjuma was a captain and he was the chief security officer to the head of state and was personally responsible.
To the head of state.
Yes, he was personally responsible for the arrest of the head of state on the evening of 28th July 1966 in Ibadan. Yeah.
So thank you, Ferdinand.
Okay. So the Nigerian army handled the situation in 2023 in Jos. The local government of Bokos and Barkin-Ladi, they began a swift clearance operation to find suspects in the attacks. and some of the suspects were arrested. The attacks prompted outrage, with residents demanding justice and government prosecution. Governor of Plateau State, Caleb Manasseh Mutfwan, condemned the violence. His response was swift also. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Yeah, good morning. I'm calling from Sayunaka. I'm Orlando by name.
Orlando from Samunaka, you're welcome to the show. Your contribution quickly.
Yeah, in 1984, I was one of the longest white brigade in secondary school. And I could only remember now that the only legacy that Buhari left from that military white brigade
Discipline, yes.
was the taking position of women on motorcycles. And
Okay.
that's the only legacy that was carried up till now. Every other one was worked out by previous government and so on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Orlando, for your contribution. I think you can still take one more call. The number to call is 080-6464-1536. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
A very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
Professor Samuel speaking from just now.
Professor Samuel, you're welcome to the show once again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dinka was not related to our own. The origin for the same local government.
Okay, Dimka was not related to Gowan. You think you have answered that question?
Yeah, and then not an in-law at all.
Okay.
So I'm going to clarify that one.
Okay, thank you very much.
Then secondly, the Dearborn made a mistake. He said you go to make a pilgrimage. And on his arrival, he was retired. General Bandita. So you have got no one to take chance at all. Because he knew the sort of person he Dearborn. The Dearborn should say something, he's going to take action, and so ruthless. It has allowed the Dearborn to come back to the country, they are retiring, and death is the wife severely, and death is not proposition in the country. In the case of this man, they call T.Y. Danjima. Now, one thing is that at that particular time, I was about 8 years old or so. What happened was that the crew was one-sided, and then they asked this man called Abu Ramzi, okay, this is the tradition. Thank you very much, and have a good day. My name is Professor Samuel from Just Now.
Okay, Professor Samuel from Just Now, thank you very much. This is the last call we can take. We can't go any further. We said something yesterday about a pope, a Catholic pope that succeeded his biological father, and it generated a lot of uproar because as a priest you're not supposed to get married. So how come a pope was succeeding his father? This happened in 401 AD and the subject of serious literary discussion. We are going to have our research and come back here to give you more details about this. Thank you very much. My name is MBUM FERDINAND on behalf of every member of the production crew led by Ayuba Adams. I'm signing out, and tomorrow we'll have the last edition of this show for the week. You can follow us on social media on Facebook, Ferdinand MBUM, or History Desk TV, on YouTube, Instagram, X, and TikTok, also History Desk TV. I am out. Me I go young. Okay, tomorrow we'll play.
And then what happened
I
when
don't
you
say boys, don't do news. Don't do news now.
We are like Moses, we lead other
Kebo.
stations to the promised land.
Catch it.
Between 1980 to 1993.
It was for like a witness account. And that makes sense. Witness account, not the real account. You see the calls. How many calls? How many this thing? You saw the.
What do you back?
900 and
These calls.
yes.
You know, feed me. You feed me top.
Wait till they try this server.
At least for some we pick at least like 15 or 20 calls a day from the time.
You don't finish. I don't talk anything. And that text message, right? We need to
get someone who will reply
those messages.
We
They're
never
very
have
important.
that light inside.
Take, put on there.
Maybe finish. Maybe the guy finish. No, you go finish now.
Something today there.
No, less than 2 minutes.
What's in there? Get that light stand.
Yes.
Okay, less than 2 minutes.
Let me try this chicken. See, no die. See, they just come. So I'm testing at 5 hours. So we deduct the money. Okay, and for the brooding.
What's it like? Chicken. You like it, so chicken.
No, chicken on that and those day old new ones.
When you buy it?
When? Yesterday.
Christmas and tomorrow, buy chicken. You buy it
They
then.
want for tomorrow, not for 6 months time.
That's what it was.
There is a wrong business.
I want for 6 months.
There is wrong business.
I want them mature. 6 months. You need to be the chicken for 6 months.
See, this was even 4 months.
You don't feel like cow.
They tell you.
And
And Emanuela.
Hey.